Hey there, trackers. Bear Tracker Nature Films out here along the Eel River in northwestern California. And there's something really cool right here. There's actually two very cool trails right next to each other. This very faint track that you're looking at here, there are two of them, and these are pretty amazing because this animal is really lightweight and doesn't usually leave really nice tracks like this. These are lizard tracks. Zoom in. Okay, zoomed in. This is a lizard track. Now, lizards have claws, and they have between 4 and 5 toes, depending upon which one. And this is the front track right here. So you can see the tiny 5 little toes. Look at those little sharp claw marks right there. You can see the 5 toes and the claw marks on each one. And then over here is the hind track. Look at that. Isn't that cool? In this case, I only see 4. Oh no, there's the 5th toe. The 5th toe's right here. Here it is. So yeah, it's not missing a toe. Really, it's not. Okay, so right here is the outer toe. That's toe number 5. Toe 1, 2, 3, 4 are here, facing that direction. And then the outer toe is here, and that makes this the right hind foot of a lizard. I don't know which species this is. Out here, I would suspect it's a western fence lizard, because that's the most common species around here. Now, next to this is another sort of related species, and I accidentally just popped the tripod right on a lizard track, unfortunately, but I'll show you that in a minute. Let me back the camera up. Okay, so what you can see here is another trail going through here. This one right here is the tail drag of this animal, and here are its tracks. There's another animal going this direction, so from the bottom of the screen towards the top is a second one. These are both salamander tracks. Which one? I don't know. I'd have to look it up and see if I can tell you for sure. We have ensatinas, we have slender salamanders, but this is way too big for a slender salamander. We have arboreal salamanders and all kinds of them. We have tons of salamanders here. But what's interesting is the combination of a salamander and a lizard trail, because you think of lizards as warm weather animals and salamanders as more cold weather, rainy weather animals. And indeed, we did just have rain for a whole week, which is really refreshing for the river and for the animals. And also, apparently, the salamanders woke them up and got them out because they're going to go retreat from the dry weather that we're going to have in summer. And so they're going to hide themselves in refuges that allow them to maintain moisture all summer. So they're going to retire very soon. And this is probably the last time we're going to be able to see their tracks until next winter. But the lizards are out because we have had warm weather. And so the combination of this two species right here is really interesting. Okay, so here are the lizard tracks from the left side of the body. And unfortunately, this one right here, I plopped the tripod right on top of it. Oops. Anyway, front and hind. And the lizard is turning and heading up this slight little slope here. And over here, you can see some of its tracks look just like little scratches in this nice fine mud. And this is a really nice consistency of mud right here. Perfect silty stuff, and it just looks like scratch marks. Going up the hill, there's another tiny little one right there, and so on and so forth. So that's our lizard. And this is another critter that, this is a Millipede Trail. And you can tell them because they look like parallel lines of railroad tracks. So if you see millipede trails out and about, that's what they look like, just as an aside. Just a little parallel line showing tons of little feet, because millipedes have not 1,000,000 feet, not 1,000 feet, but a lot of feet. Alright, there's another salamander track right there. And what you see is that it is shorter, stubbier. The toes are a little thicker, more blunt than those of the lizard. And the salamander is heading from this direction towards that direction. Again, this one is showing 5 toes. This one looks like the hind track of a little tiny salamander. One of the salamanders that would be down here by the river would be the rough-skinned newt, and this may very well be a rough-skinned newt track because they are going to be, this is their mating season, so they're in the river and they do their mating in the water in balls of, they have a little ball that they form. They just kind of pile on top of each other during this time of year. So this is a salamander track, possibly from a rough-skinned newt. So here is the trail of the salamander, and you can see the central tail drag right down the middle. The direction of travel is from the left to the right across your screen. You have overlapping tracks on either side. So the clearest one is this one right here, this set, where you have the hind track with the 5 toes on top of the front track with the 4 toes, which is further evidence to me that this may be a rough-skinned newt track. They are walking. The animal is walking. So you have the right, left, right, and tail drag in the center. And so this animal, as it walks, its hind foot lands almost on top of the front foot. It's not quite a direct register. More like an understep where the hind foot lands behind the front foot track. Let's focus in on that set right there. Those are tiny little feet, aren't they? Here's a ruler. Let me see if I can get the ruler in there. That's centimeters right there. And there's your inches scale. So they're quite small. And your front foot will be the smallest one there with these 4 toes. And you can see a toe there, 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 and there. This is your front foot, and here's your hind foot with 5 toes. The other one is missing there. So that's, again, more evidence to me that this may be the rough-skinned newt, the most common species right here along the river. So right here is a continuation of the Salamander Trail. This is probably a separate animal, or just the animal that I saw over there about 8 feet away moved over here. But its trail, and I'm going to orient this so that it is heading towards the top of your screen, but its trail goes this way. So you notice this central tail drag is still there, and you see the paired prints, the hind on top of front there, and then that trail kind of peters out in the mud, and then we pick up this other one which is going that direction. So this one has slightly has a slightly better pair of tracks over there. You can see the first one heading that direction. The second one is going this way. Central trail drag is, whoops, get that plant out of the way. Central trail drag is fairly prominent. And then here is a nice pair of tracks. Let's look at those. Okay, so I wanted to show these tracks because they're fairly good. And you can see a lot of details in these. So on the right here, you have the 4 toes of the front foot. And over here, you have the 5 toes of the hind foot. Now the hind foot, the central toe is a little bit longer, and it looks sort of like a sunrise pattern if this was a complete track. It almost looks like a little, like you would draw a sunrise coming over the horizon. That's kind of what it looks like to me. So the hind track has 5 toes, the front track has 4. There's the tail drag. These are the right tracks. And I believe this is a rough-skinned newt, so I'm just going to call it a rough-skinned newt, which is a type of salamander that lives here along the Eel River. So right over here in this little bend in the river right there is the location where I have in the past found rough-skinned newts mating and depositing their eggs under the water. So that's why I suspect that these 3 salamander trails that I found here belong to rough-skinned newts, and also because the tracks have the 4 toes on front and the 5 toes on the hind. So I believe these to be rough-skinned newts, and it is April, and mid-April. They're active right now, and the river has just come up in the last week, so that's also contributing to their activity out here on the shore. But they're all making their way to the locations where they find the water, the backwater puddles, where they do their mating activity in the spring.